Hello and welcome to the Still Standing series. I'm your host, Coach Violet Coots, and I'm so happy to have my special guest, Mae Renfroe, with us today. I'm a Christian life coach helping individuals cultivate an intimate relationship with God, equipping and empowering them to walk in the freedom and purpose God has planned for them. I'd love for you to grab my free biblical affirmation card so that you can start renewing your mind today and finding that freedom. And if you're feeling stuck in any area of your life, schedule a free breakthrough session with me. The link will be in the show description. Hello, Mae. How are you today?
Hello, I am doing good. I'm
Oh,
excited to be here.
wonderful. I'm so glad to have you. And you are joining us from Canada?
Al- Alberta, Canada, Northern Alberta. It's cold.
Yeah. I was,
We got a
I
little
was-
snow on the ground.
okay. Yes, I was thinking about that this morning. I'm like, we have some rain here in Kentucky, but I was like, I bet she's already got snow and it's probably cold. But
hmm
uh, I am glad to have you. And if you will, just tell us, start by just telling us a little bit about yourself and what you want to share for us to kind of know you a little bit.
Yeah, okay. I am a mom of 10 children. So I usually start there.
Yeah,
Oh,
10
yeah,
children.
yeah, married to my husband, Paul, for 25 years, and our children are ages 24 down to 2. So I've just got
Wow.
all the ages, all the child in all the stages. I mean, in everything. So I've got my 24-year-old son is currently at home with us, and then under him there's one that is away from home in Indiana. He's 19, and then the rest of them. So we have 8 under our roof, and
Wow.
that keeps me busy. Because some are learning to drive, and some are doing difficult math. I'm a homeschool mom, and some learning to read, and others
Wow.
little toddlers. And no, but yeah, that basically what keeps me busy every day. But in my spare time, I love to encourage other wives and mothers, and I've got a YouTube channel where I like to do that, and some books that I've written, and to encourage other moms in their uh, journey, hard role of motherhood, because it is hard, but it is worth it all. And so
Yeah.
just encouraging that, and then just encourage women in their walk with the Lord, and just to help them have that closer walk, and in helping those that have gone through difficult things in life as well. So I've like to do that in different ways. Like I've been on podcasts, this one and various podcasts, my own that I have, and I like speaking opportunities and stuff. And I don't
Right.
I'd love to travel. We kind of travel between our Texas home and Alberta home. Like you mentioned, I'm in Alberta right now, but we also have one in Texas where it's warmer. And so we go, but kind of been going between the two homes, and we want to travel more and do that kind of thing. But yeah,
Oh, that's awesome.
I
You
love
mentioned
Jesus. He's the center of my life. So,
that
yeah, yeah.
that's yes, and that's very important. That is very important. That's the most important thing, I think. Um, you mentioned you have 10 children. I'm the youngest of 10 children, but
Okay, cool.
several
And
of
I'm the
my
youngest
well,
of 9.
you're the youngest of 9. Okay. So yeah, we've got big families and stuff, and that's wonderful. Well, just tell us, share your story. I know you've got a story that has some very hard loss in there, some heartbreak, but you've also let God use that to
Mhm.
help encourage, so you've got a lot of ways that you can help, encourage women from a standpoint of being a mom with all that going on. But then I'll let you also then tell your story as well. So I'm just going to hand this over to you.
Okay. Yes, we do got a hard part in our story, in our 25 years of marriage, and um with having a family. So yeah, in 2017 we had our 8th baby was born January 2017, and 3 months later our second oldest son at the age of 14 died in a four-wheeler accident. So
Oh, I'm
he
so
was
sorry.
just here. Yes, thank you. And he was just here healthy, happy, one moment and gone the next. It was something that you didn't see coming. He just went out for a ride on the four-wheeler and had just told me, well, he come and tell me what he was going to do. I said, "See you later," and then that was the last time that I seen him
Oh,
alive. And yeah, so we were just shook up because we just had our eighth baby, and we just never seen this coming. We had a good, happy family. We were serving the Lord. We
right.
felt, and living, we wanted to live for Him and raise our children for Him. And I did growing up. That I grew up that way, and that's what I wanted. And I, yeah, loved the Lord as a child, and was really put my faith in Him. And yeah, I would never see anything coming. So it really changed our world. Like I say, I kind of refer to as it flipped it upside down, like in a
Sure.
moment. But also, we were on solid ground. So we were on solid ground and on the rock of Jesus, and He was our hope, and has been our hope, and has been our peace that's kept us going. So that's what I love to share, that hope that has kept us going. So I have written a book on our story, holding on to hope. And yeah, it's a story of our tragic loss, yet it's of the story of the hope of Jesus that keeps us going. So I felt a peace right off, like at the time, as soon as we found out that we found him, in the woods. Our 12-year-old went out, and he was away from, for a while. We didn't think nothing of it. We never suspected anything. Why would we? He was,
Right.
responsible, almost 15 years old. And these things weren't toys. And when he said he was leaving the house to go over by a dugout to look for ducks, I actually didn't hear him say, he didn't say he was taking the four-wheeler. I didn't hear it start up. I didn't hear it leave. And I didn't even know that was, anyway, a thing. And um, so our 12-year-old son, his closest brother to him, found him in found him over there by the dugout with it rolled over on him. And it looks like it just got on a wrong angle. There's not much of an embankment. These aren't steep hills at all. Just I don't know how you tell, a small, yeah, embankment from digging out this a pond, body of water. And he got on the wrong angle, and it rolled over on him. And the autopsy showed that he died of a broken neck and broken back. And so it was,
Oh,
they
I'm
said,
so
little to
sorry.
no trauma. Yeah, but little to no trauma, just meaning that it went very quickly. So
Yes.
we've had peace. And that it was like, oh, so he wasn't out there suffering long. He wasn't wondering why we're not coming. He wasn't all these things, going through his
Right.
mind.
And I'm
And
sure there's thousands of things that goes to your
yeah,
mind. And
yeah,
and I'm just thinking about the impact that had to have though on, his brother that
yeah,
found him.
yes.
That in itself, I'm sure was something to deal with as well. Whoever would have, but just a younger sibling and one that's close to him and stuff, that had to be also something else to, I hate to say it this
Hmm.
way, but to deal with and to cope
Hmm.
with. So
Yes, it was. Yeah, for him, it has took a long uh time. It's been, so is it over 7 years now? But this son, yeah, has, kind of fondly said that he feels, I guess, at peace about it. Like, it's still hard. It's one of the things that was senseless to him for so long, and just so hard to
yeah,
to um comprehend, or to take in. And so he kept himself busy to blur that out, to not think about.
yeah,
He was 12 years old. He just turned 12. Okay, so just turned 12, like the 2 months, no, month before. His birthday is March, and we lost him in April, this son, Clayton. So yeah, our son, Sam, had just turned 12, and he pretty much lost his childhood. But he did it to himself. I mean, because he's turned to work, keep himself
yeah,
busy, keep his mind busy, and that's how he coped with the loss of his brother. Yeah, it was
yeah,
definitely hard. And so yeah, it really shook our family, but it didn't shake our faith. And so I don't believe, like, I shook things about just not understanding, not knowing why. Never thought it would happen. It was kind of like, Lord, like, why this? Where did this come from? And I did a lot of soul searching. I was like, what are we to learn from this? Not that there was maybe a specific reason, but he did allow it, right? Like, I believe that our son would still be here if he was meant to be here. but he's not. So I had that rush and that peace that way. I was like, well, it's his time to go. Um, but I also felt, what can we learn in this? Like, what are we to do different? Do you want us to be doing something different? Do you want us to do more of something, less of something? Like, well, how are we, you know, what do we, can we all learn from this, and how can we use this to help others or to bring you glory? So I really tried. It's not that I didn't have it figured out. I'm just trying, it's just, boy, your mind just, it's so overwhelming. It's so like, you just like, oh my goodness, like you can't, your mind is going crazy. But I would try, but I tried to line it up with Jesus, talk to God, communicate with God. And
Right.
so, yeah, and it really helped. Boy, that I had a communion with God at that time that I've never have before. Never
Right.
experienced before this, never have since. But just talking with him and just feeling at peace, just feeling that he was with me. I'd be like, wake up a new morning, right after, be like, God, you're with me. At first it was like, I'm awake, and God, you're with me. I know you're here. I can feel you. I can feel your presence. You're with me. You've got
Yeah.
this.
That's
The peace.
wonderful.
Yeah, I felt
Yeah.
the peace that Philippians 4:7 describes as that is undescribable or
Yeah.
surpasses all human understanding. So you can't make sense of it. But yeah, that's the peace I felt, and that's what I wanted to be able to help others with, kind of right
Yes.
after our loss. Yeah.
Yeah. Because, like you said, it's your world just completely changed in a matter
Mhm.
of moments, and going through a routine day. And I'm sure the kids had gone out. That's they go out and they come in and
Mhm.
everything. And so to
Mhm.
stop that, uh, and then to have a newborn baby at home. And,
Mhm.
I'm sure that, had some impact. Or, you're caring for a newborn baby. Plus this is you said number 8. So, you
Mhm.
still had to be mom. You still had to be mom to all of the other
Mhm.
children and their, um, but I think it's wonderful. And it is wonderful that how you say, your faith. Your faith, though, is what you stood on, and you didn't waver. It doesn't sound like you
Mhm.
wavered in
No,
that. And
no.
because sometimes I know tragedy, sometimes tragedy draws us closer to God.
Mm.
And unfortunately,
Mhm.
sometimes tragedy maybe causes us to drift more away from God. And
Mhm.
so, so that's wonderful that you were able to draw to Him and experience that closeness
Mhm.
that you just talked about and explained. And, even now, being able to help others in their walk, with God, just on an everyday walk, as a mom that has got many children, where you have your children, and trying to find how, we was talking about this, some friends of mine was talking about this the other day about our busy lives and finding time to spend with God. Um,
Mm.
how do just do you have some advice, or how do you find time in your busyness? So, because you're also then homeschooling. So,
Mhm. Mhm.
in that busyness, how do you feel like you find time to have that quiet time with God that you need, and that,
Mhm.
that does help you to stay grounded?
Yes, well, for like Bible time in the Word, I actually do it with the kids, so it's more collective. So not my own private time, not it's not quiet time that way. But with the Bible reading, it's with the kids. Now the prayer time, and I'll elaborate on that just a bit. But with the prayer time, I think the quiet time I get, you know, just in bed at night, mostly with my youngest two. I am still nursing and stuff, him, and he, and so I sometimes I'm up late with them, or I'm up in the night with them, and I use those times to talk to God. I mean, you have to be purposeful about it, and
Yeah.
want to desire and try to, because otherwise you maybe won't. You'll just let your mind wander, or maybe worry about things. I do that too. Some unfortunately, it, bring your mind and want, and then bring these things to prayer instead, and talk to God. And so I have a lot of kind of opportunities that way. But I need to work on that. I mean, I'll do. It's like I ain't got that one figured out, but because I would like to, yeah. And it's so important. And remember to take everything to God in prayer. If we can just remember every detail, of our lives, and we can talk to God anywhere, and in the
Right.
shower, doing our work, when we're driving, we don't have to get in our, let's say, quiet space, but it is nice. It is good. I would recommend it if you can.
Right.
Um, and then back to the Bible reading. Okay, so I have the kids read, yeah, to me, and I listen to them read. And they're not like avid readers where they really like to read, say, books. And so then I thought, well, then I'm going to have you read the Bible. I require that. And so, and then if you do other extra reading, great. But if not, then, and I'll sit with them. So even I sat with my 13-year-old first, my son. Yeah, when I first get up, I sit with him and he reads where he's reading it to me, and then I'll help him with difficult words and I'll explain things. And then my 14-year-old daughter, I have her read to me next in a different place where she's reading, and I'll explain. And sometimes I do that kind of when I'm making breakfast. She sits there close enough in the kitchen on my desk, and I'll help her. And then I started a new thing with my 17-year-old daughter. She does her own Bible time in the morning, but I decided, it just come to me about a month ago. I was like, maybe me and her should read through the Gospels together. That would be really neat. So we started in Matthew, and we're in Matthew chapter 22 now, because sometimes we can't do it every day, but I kind of do that after lunch. I'm like, grab a moment after lunch before things get busy again and read there. So I read that. So I would recommend, so you said, what do I recommend? Well, if you have children, do it collectively as a family because they need the word too. So then you're pouring into them and you're getting it at the same time. Um,
Yeah.
it's so good. And I think establishing with them like discipline of, we have to discipline ourselves to read. It may not always be something would be drawn to necessarily, I don't know, like, 'cause especially for kids, they might find another book if they were book readers, they might find something else that they'd rather read. But I mean, we have to discipline ourselves and
Yeah.
we love God and love his word, or we don't, like, it's one of those things, need to do. And so, yeah, do it with a family. Do it
Yeah.
collectively, how that looks. And we read together as a family in the evenings. And my husband will also read in the evenings, and we'll read somewhere. And together we're reading through the Bible like we're in the Old Testament and read through.
Gotcha.
I don't know.
Well, and I love how
I like it.
you you incorporate in your day. You are
Uh-huh.
intentional, and
Yeah.
we have to be intentional, whatever it is we're doing. If we're not intentional with
Yeah.
it, but it's intentional, and I love that you do it individually,
Uh-huh.
with your children and stuff to where because we learn differently. Of course, they're different ages and stuff,
Yeah.
but you just make it part of your normal daily routine. And to me, I think that's wonderful too, because I think so often, I hear different ones. It's like, well, I need to do X, 15 minutes of Bible study this time of day. And, and it's a rigid, it's rigid and it can be like, okay, got it done. Sometimes it can get to that point that it's okay, I did that, check it off. Or, or sometimes we may feel guilty if we don't get it in that exact time or in things. But, like you said, we can talk to God at any time. And there's
Yeah.
just those
Love that.
different ways
Yeah.
of doing that. So no, I think that's wonderful. And you're teaching your kids that, we can be with God anytime and he's there with us at any time as well.
Yeah, for sure. That it is good, to take the time to get in his word to, yeah, to read, but that he is with, we're in his presence, right? All the time. And um yeah. And then I read to the younger ones, they're the Bible story books. And the evening after, I said my husband reads, yeah, to us together the Bible, but then I go into the girls' room, the big girls, and the boys' room, and do a devotion with him separately, like different things. And for the girls especially, we're going through books that geared for their age, devotions for things that girls are going through, the teen girls and all these things that can yeah, that can be hangups or things that they're, emotionally feeling or whatever. And we'll talk about those. And that's been wonderful too. And so that it comes back, of course, to the Bible. What does God say about this? What does he think? What is the spirit, the right way to think on these things or to do?
Right.
And it's really neat. I mean, that is wonderful. I highly recommend doing that if you can, with,
Yes, because you are giving them God's wisdom,
yeah,
and
yeah,
more than just man's wisdom. I'm not saying we
yeah,
don't
yeah,
bring man's wisdom, but you're giving them that wisdom of God, and you are giving them that firm foundation, from youngest on up, and just to give them that. And that is something that's going to last them in their lives, that they know that they have that foundation. They're set on that path to incorporate that time with God. And
Mhm.
it doesn't have to look like a certain thing, but you're giving them all these different, you know, to me, examples of how that works and how that can work. I think, that's just, to me, is a beautiful picture. I think of, in the Old Testament, how it talks about, speak of God, in your comings and your goings and when you're together. And as
Mhm.
you're describing, your family dynamic there, that's what came to mind. I can't pull the scripture to my head right now, but but it just, as it's talking about, speak to your children, teach your children. And it's like you're living that out.
Mhm. Yeah, yeah, it's so worth it. Yeah, nothing better that we can give our children. And
Right.
getting them in the
That's
word and getting them grounded where, they know where their hope comes from and the solid thinking. So they're ready to go out in the world and have a firm foundation.
yes. Yeah. So, um, now, so in your book, I'm kind of jumping right here, but in your book, tell us a little bit about, I know you said it's your story, but
Mm-hmm. Say I can hold it up again.
yes.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah.
so now, when did you write your book?
Uh, 4 years after our loss, and 7 years, a few years ago already.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, about I started to put it together after 4 years, so I don't know if it was exactly, it might have been almost 5 years, but that's when I had written it on the blog first, on a blog, on a website. I was already, like, would blog things on there to encourage mothers and, share, Bible verses or whatnot, things on there, and so then I just started sharing, like, writing what just happened. I wrote down April 19th, 2017, um losing Clayton, and I wrote, about that and how that day unfolded and everything, and then just from there forward, I would just get on and share something. I was like, "Hey, this is what I'm going through. Maybe this will help you."
Yeah.
And again, like, here's a Bible verse, here's a piece of song, because songs were important to me. Praise and worship songs. I had been playing in the house a lot, and I would just sing along to them, or just let the words just think over. Oh, that is so one of them. That is powerful to have in your home too, and that's helping us uh, commune with God and
Yes.
inviting them into our space and a place and having the truths spoken like that in the songs. There's some great, great songs, great words. Yeah, so I would share that. And after about 4 years of blogging, then I had already knew I wanted to turn it into a book, like, right off. I was like, oh, I'm gonna, we'll have a book one day on this. And so after 4 years, it felt right, and God somehow blessed me with time. And I took it from the blog, copy and pasted to where I self-published, and so that's what it's like. It has a date on every entry has a date, and I left that on here, so it has a date, so it's kind of, exactly when that thing was written. Um,
Right.
and yeah, so I just put that together. Hopefully, it would help somebody else for their journey, what they was going through, and maybe for a variety of things too. Also, I did have the two more losses within the following year. So my dad, the fall of 2018, my older brother, in a vehicle accident, December 2019. So I had those
Um,
three deaths kind of back to back, which was
Wow.
also hard. It puts you test your faith too, because you're kind of like, okay, who's next? Or like, what's next? And so, but
Right.
we really having to just trust, well, what may, God's got us. God's got us after losing our son. He had us when I lost our dad. And so whatever happens next, he is with us. But yeah, that's in here too. So that's in the book. I've got that, chapter losing my dad, and then a chapter losing my brother, and just things around that, to
Wow.
help others, and wanted to give that hope and encouragement, in the
Yes.
comfort that I received, to give that to someone else. There's a
Yes.
verse. It's not one of my big ones necessarily, but there's a verse I'd like to read that talks about God being the God of comfort. This that's a Second Corinthians chapter 1, starting verse 3. Praise be to the God of our Father and of our Lord Jesus Christ, the Father of compassion and the God of all comfort, who comforts us in all our troubles so that we can comfort those and in any trouble with the comfort ourselves, we ourselves receive from God. So I love it. It refers to God as being the God of all comfort. And then we can give others that comfort that we've been given. And when we do that, it's healing to us too. When we reach out to
Yes.
others and try to think of others that we can help and be there for, it's healing to us.
Yes, yes.
Neat.
I was going to ask you, I would think that as you were doing that, as you was writing your blog, that in itself was helping you to heal, to
Mhm.
being able to share your feelings and share what you're going through. And while you were helping others, I would think that that was also helping you.
Mhm. Yeah, it gave me a sense of purpose, like
Yeah.
there was kind of purpose in my pain that now, from our loss that we could, then I can share hope. And it was, I mean, it was like we were given, I don't know if you call it just an opportunity or an avenue through this that for us, our, huge thing that really changed our lives, flipped it upside down, kind of in a way. It gave us an avenue to now to give hope and comfort to someone else and have compassion for others that I wouldn't have had because I didn't know what it was like until you don't know until you've been uh,
Right.
through it. And
Right. Yes, and I think that, and that is important. My husband passed away in 2017 from from cancer, and so I know now walking the path of a widow. God's given me other opportunities. God's given me opportunities then to reach out to other widows.
mhm,
Uh, and then, I can relate where you was talking about, your brother being killed in an automobile accident when I was young, when I was about 19. My brother, one of my brothers was killed in an automobile accident, and he and I both still lived at home at the time. He was a little bit older, but at the same time, walking through those things, like you said, we can come in there and beside others who have gone through that, who have gone through that as well. So um, it's important to reach out. It's important to be able to do that, and it can take some time to and it takes us being vulnerable. It takes us being open and willing to share, that pain, to share
mhm,
those areas. But and that's one reason I'm doing the Still Standing series, is so that people will know that they're not alone in what they're going through, that
mhm,
someone else, the enemy, I think, always wants us to feel like we're the only ones that's going through something, and that no one else can understand. But, when we share our stories, then we are connecting, with all those others and saying, you're not alone. Your pain is very valid,
mhm,
and there is somebody that can share that with you. Obviously God is there, but but
mhm,
also that having another human that that you can talk to, and that we can relate with. And I think that's just again another beauty of God, of how he's made us for community. And when we will take these opportunities and and share those things, then we can be that encouragement to others, and we can help them through the process.
mhm.
So I think what you're doing is is very important, and and is very encouraging, um, to in so many ways. So
Yeah, yeah.
now
It's,
you mentioned a blog. So how do people reach you? How do they where do they find your blog, and how do they get your book?
okay, well, my book is available just on Amazon. I do have a website, yeah, where I have the blog, which I haven't been doing as much on there anymore for the writing. It's funny, even for the end of the book, the last chapters in the book, rightfully, are just actually little pieces that I type up to go with a video that I would share. Like at that point, I was switching from. I just found it easier with the children and everything at that point. Just to, I think I had the 10th baby. Well, by the time we went to publication, see, then I've had two more children since losing our son Clayton, two more little ones now, and I think by the time, yeah, it was being published, because I did slip in, I think the last edition kind of that I did more edits to it. I got a family picture of us with the new baby with a tent. So anyway, um, lost my thought.
So you don't blog as much anymore. So, but
Oh,
in
there we go.
earlier, yeah,
Yes,
earlier you mentioned
okay.
the YouTube, I
Yeah,
think.
I did. So that's where, okay, the video started on the YouTube channel. Yes. Um, and some of the text that I got in the last few chapters was with the videos that I was actually doing a series summer of 2020 down at the cemetery, and just which is like where we are in a northern Alberta home, just about 3 kilometers down the road. And I would go there and stand by the three graves, my dad, my son, and my brother, and I would give hope. And so that's what I'd say. Here I am at one of the most unlikely places, maybe to find hope, but I'm here to give hope. And I would share maybe little bits of our story, and just say, here's some verses that help me, songs, things that God's really on my heart, and I want to give you hope. And so yeah, that's so the tail end of the book is kind of those little bits that would go with that video. And I did give I believe a link in there where it's like you can go find this video that I did on this day. And yeah, that's on my YouTube channel. It was the summer of 2020, and I just felt like to go down and to give hope there, and I'm grateful for that. I'm glad God gave me
Yes.
that. And so um, that's yeah. So the blog. Okay, so I do still have a lot of resources on the website, resources of books that I read, other books I kind of recommended. I read a lot of books on loss and grief, and then people's personal stories. So maybe not so much loss and grief, but just something they went through, and I really like
Right.
those books of things they went through and how did they handle it, and kind of what did God do, what come of it after? Because a lot of time people will have these ministries and stuff that came from their tragedy. And
Yes.
that really inspired me, because that's what I thought would happen right after losing our son. I was like, okay, because I just read a book too on this family that had not lost, but their daughter, their whole family was in a vehicle accident. Their daughter had a very traumatic brain
Mm.
injury, and they just had a big ministry come from that. And they still have all these years, they've got this ministry from it, and it's really beautiful. And so I was expecting that like right away. And that was actually a down thing for me then, unfortunately, because I expected it so right away. And so I was like, okay, God, you got a purpose on this. And when a few months down the road, essentially with a year, not really seeing that happen, I'm like, where's my miracle? Like, what is that here? I need a miracle, God. And so I was desperate and praying. And then, and he meets you in these places. And when that happened, I just really felt him just reassuring me that there is a purpose. Like he just gave me peace again when I was unsettled and just wondering, like, where's my big ministry? Where's my thing? But sometimes we've got to realize it's in the little things, and we need to be okay with that too. I had really been praying for a message to give women at the time of how God uses bad things for our good and for his glory. And I had heard the song, Your World Is Now, what is the name of the song? Just Be Helped. And there's a line in there that says, Your world is not falling apart, it's falling into place. And I mulled it over. It's
Mm.
like, Your world's not falling apart, it's falling into place, like even for us. World's not falling apart. And so when I mulled it over, and that's where I felt that God just spoke to me at
Mm.
that time, and it felt good. And like a message came to me that I wrote and to be able to share with women. And I titled it, Your World is Not Falling Apart, It's Falling into Place. Because I thought of the story of Joseph, all these things that look like his world is falling apart, but it got him to that place, right, where he was
Yes.
needed. And that's what I felt too. All these things are getting us to that place where
Yes.
what he has for us, and there is a purpose in these things. If we would kind of look, look and say, how can we bring glory to you in this?
Yeah.
And so that's kind of
And
that's what
it's
I
in
would be
his
able to.
timing.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah. It's in his timing.
yeah. But it's hard sometimes. It is hard to wait on that and not be get impatient, because like I didn't mention also within the first, yeah, what had happened in the first year. I had planned a retreat actually for women that had loss, and I planned it for about would be a year of our anniversary of losing our son. And maybe it was a little quick to rush into that, but I don't know. I just felt that passion. I want to help people, and maybe this is what God has then. And so that did help me pass the first year, because I was advertising for it. I looked for a speaker. I was doing preparing for this, and it got closer and closer. Nobody was registered, and I was looking at the speaker told me, well, was about 30 days before the time, if you don't have so many people registered, we're gonna, we won't be able to do it. And I'm like, oh no. I was like, well, God, you come right down to the last 2 days, like, God, well, you can give us 20 people overnight. I know you can do this. Like you can get but woke up to the last day that she kind of gave me, and there was nobody. It was like, okay, well, I guess I told her, yeah, I guess we'll have to cancel. And so then that is where the low point hit. Then when I told you I hit the low point, it was after that when I thought that was it. It was the ladies' retreat. That's what I was supposed to do. Um, and it didn't happen. And then I hit the low point after that. And so, yeah, it can be hard. But I look at that now. It's in the book. I wrote that in here. It tells exactly. I said planning a retreat, and then it talks about closed doors. But I felt that it felt past time. There wasn't even a purpose in that. I don't know. I was able to get through that time. I was giving encouragement to people during it, like I do little videos and say, we're planning this retreat for women, and this and I don't know. Even those things. I mean, I it had a purpose. I don't really know why. It didn't turn out, but it wasn't meant to be. So
Right.
we learn these
Yeah.
little things along the way and learn to just keep trusting. Even if we don't understand, sometimes it's just about abiding in Him and trusting and resting. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. And, I love your perspective, because that is true. When we take the steps that we think we're supposed to take,
Yeah.
even if they don't maybe turn out the way we think, I truly believe God doesn't waste anything.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, even in that, and so you just have such a wonderful perspective, which I think is that
Yeah.
reflection on you do have that solid foundation.
Yeah.
You've got
Yeah.
that solid foundation, and it's not, it's talking about being on that rock,
Yeah.
and you're holding on, and
Yeah.
that is such encouraging in so many, in so many ways.
Yeah. It's
So,
like we will not be moved. Yeah. Regardless, but we're gonna trust in God, and we know that He is with us and for us, and He said He'd never leave us.
yeah. And
Right?
his words are true. His words are true. Sometimes it takes us a while I think, depending on what it is, we just have to hold on and say, I'm still depending on your word. I'm still depending on your word and on his faithfulness and his character.
Mhm.
So, well, this is um, anything else that you would like to share at this moment? I'm thankful that you have come on and been a guest with us, and that you're sharing, about this, because again, this is going to encourage so many. Um, I was thinking about you this morning, getting ready, for us to meet on here, and to record this. And I realized that just within the last couple of weeks, God has put several people in my path who have gone through this loss, that, a loss like yours, who's lost a child. And I just got to thinking about that, and I was like, wow, God is lining up this our talk together, our time together. And because there's many out there who this, I believe, is going to encourage, and is going to help. And again, all in God's timing of how he brings people together, and the timing of what gets put out and when it gets put out.
Oh wow. Oh, that's neat. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I really like to encourage women and just say that a relationship with Jesus, a personal relationship is where it's all at. It's
Yes.
relationship. It's not knowing about God, being just called a Christian, going to church and all that. That's not where you're going to find hope and peace and joy and what you need to carry on when something like this happens. When this hits you, you've got to have that personal relationship, but it's never too late. Just call it to them. Yeah. And another
Right.
podcast recently, someone asked me, "Is like, well, how do you encourage women to get closer to God?" And I'm like, get desperate, get hungry, get thirsty. And that's what it takes to get that. "Oh, God, I can't do this. I need you." And He is just right there. But He's looking for a people that's going to seek Him with their whole heart. I have a few verses here that I had printed off. For that one I could read. There's a few that talks about that. Well, Matthew 5:6, blessed are they which do hunger and thirst after righteousness, for they shall be filled. Right? And then Matthew 7, 7-8, ask and it shall be given you, seek and you shall find, knock and it shall be opened unto you. For everyone that asketh receiveth, he that seeketh findeth, to him that knocketh it shall be opened. So we gotta be seeking and knocking, and
Yeah.
and God is right there. He hears us before we say a word. In Jeremiah 29:11, there's a few verses. If I could read that, it says, "For I know the thoughts that I think towards you, saith the Lord, the thoughts of peace and not of evil, to give you an an expected end. Then shall you call upon me, and you shall go and pray unto me, and I hearken unto you, and you shall seek me and find me, when you shall search for me with all of your heart. And I will be found of you, saith the Lord. And I will turn away your captivity, and will give you from the nations, and from all places hither I have driven you." So I was talking about those people that had been allowed to be in captivity for by their enemies, I guess at the time. But yeah, it's just saying that I will be found of you when you turn to me and seek me with all of your heart. And then that's what it takes, us to be seeking him with all our heart. And then with that comes that peace. He said, "A perfect peace." I say it 26:3 week when we keep our minds on him. Uh, he gives us a perfect peace. And when we trust in him.
Yes.
Yeah. So I just encourage others with that you just keep seeking God and he is there, and you will have hope again. You will have joy again. That's one thing I did wonder if I had joy again. Hope, I mean, I felt, and peace I had. Yes, I had peace, but I did wonder. I was like, I just want to have joy again. And I definitely have joy again.
That's awesome. That's good.
Yeah.
That's good. Yeah.
Trying to trust and abide in him. And it's an ongoing thing, something we have to do every day, and just say, I choose you today. I want you to fill me up. I want you to be my comfort. I don't want to find that in anything else. There's, nothing else that can give me that true and lasting hope but you, Jesus. And keep
Yeah.
thinking that. He'll be with you.
Yeah, that is so true. And all the verses that you said right there, yes, that brings so much. Even they bring comfort. They bring the hope. They bring the hope and everything. So, well, I certainly appreciate you being with us today, and I think you've already kind of answered my few things that I ask you typically at the end. Is there a life verse, and you've shared, but is there any one particular life verse that is your life verse, or do you see
But
that they change over a period of time?
yeah, I don't know if I have a life verse. I mean, I have one more that's on the back of the book, which was the theme verse for my book. It's
Okay.
13. Now the God of hope fill you with all joy and peace and believing, that you may abound in hope through the power of the Holy Ghost. Another version said, the NIV, I think, says that you may overflow with hope. So I don't know. That one really means a lot to me because it just calls him the God of hope. They fill you with all joy and peace, believing that, so we can have that hope regardless of what we go through, what trials there is. Just like John 16:33 says, "In me you will have peace. In this world you will have tribulation, but be a good cheer. I've overcome the world." We will cover verses. Even though we go through things, we still have the hope and peace of God. I
Yeah.
guess.
I think no, those are wonderful, encouraging words and truths from God's word
Yeah,
Himself, and that we can hold on to, and I think that's wonderful. Um, any final thing that you would want to say to someone who is going through, that they may feel like they're going through the fire right now, or they feel like they're drowning, or maybe they're at the end of that hope. Any final thing any words of encouragement that you want to give?
well, God is closer to us than we think, or we give him credit for. So he is right there, and he is in the fire with you. He's in the middle of it. That reminds me of a song. I had it. I don't have it, I guess, right here, but it says "Another in the Fire."
Yes,
So you know this,
yes, I do
and
know
he
that
is
song.
there. Yeah, there's a part of the course on that. There was another in the fire standing next to me. There was another in the waters holding back the seas. And should I ever need reminding of how I've been set free, there's a cross that bears the burden where another died for me. And oh wow, just that God sees you. God
Yeah,
hears you right where you're at. And again, it takes that personal relationship, it takes that seeking on our part, but God is there. God loves you. God sees you. You have not been forgotten, and these things didn't happen because know, some people would think of why, well, what did we do to cause it to happen? And again, I don't believe that any of that. But God sees you, and he is hearing you, and he is closer to you than you realize. And so, but rise up, hope again. You know, dare to hope again. Dare to keep going, because people need you. You know, and as long as we are alive and breathing, God's got a plan and a purpose. So if you're obviously if you're alive, you're hearing this, then He's got a purpose for you, and he needs you. Time to rise up and to hope again.
Yeah. Wonderful, wonderful words, wonderful words. And I always like to close with the reminder and the promise from God that is in Isaiah 43:2, that, and it talks about what you just said too. It's, if when you pass through the waters, I will be with you, and through the rivers, they shall not overflow you. When you walk through the fire, you shall not be burned, nor shall the
Mhm.
flame scorch you. And
Mhm.
so we've definitely talked about that today, and you
Yeah,
definitely have lived that. So
yeah, yeah, yeah.
I
I mean, just
appreciate
come
that.
out stronger. You know, like it's
Yes,
like here we're more than conquerors. You know, we may be put down, but we're not. Maybe knocked down. We're not knocked out. We're still,
right.
you know, and
Yes.
we may have lost our son, but we didn't lose our hope. And that's what I encourage others. You know, you still your hope, and you still you're
Yeah.
still here. Hmm.
Well, that's wonderful. That's wonderful. Well, thank you again for being here and being my guest today. And I would just like to say to, to anyone who's listening to this and seeing this, if this has brought encouragement to you, then, please comment, please share, subscribe to the channel. Um, I do believe that this is one way that we can come together to fulfill the Great Commission of telling people about Jesus is through our testimony and through sharing this. So until next time, then have a wonderful and blessed day.
Hey, thanks, Tommy. Bye.
Thank you so much for being here.